It is Friday night at about 7 o'clock. And why am I telling you that? It's because I have a date with JavaScript. Ha 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 ha. Do my puns come across on a YouTube video? I wonder. In this tutorial, we are going to work with the date object, which is something some of y'all have tinkered with when we were working on the DOM model. But everyone kind of needs to be familiar with this before we get started with the next chapter. So if you will, go ahead and download Using Date Method for Students from Canvas and take a quick glance at the HTML that I have there for you. So the date class, which we're being introduced to classes in this chapter, is just like a blueprint. And whenever we want to access or wherever we want to use that class, we have to create a new instance of that class. So you'll kind of see how that works in just a little bit. Also, please take note that there's the W3C schools link here, and I'm going to show that to you in a moment. Also, make sure that you have your console open for this tutorial because there are going to be some things that we're just going to log into console. Okay, so let's get started. Let's create a variable and let's call it right now. Let's do that camel case. Right now, and we want this to show the date and time that it is right now. So to do that, we create a new instance of the class date. Okay, so now we have an object called right now that we can work with and manipulate. Okay, so just so you can see what this looks like, we're going to print this to today results up here. So it'll appear below here on the screen. So let's do document.getElementById, today result. Woo! We'll do text content, and we want it to print the value of right now. So now if we refresh our screen, we see that it is Friday, April 17th. And yours will be different on your screen because unless you're a time traveler, you are not doing this at the time that I'm recording this tutorial. So yours will say whatever date and time you are currently working on this project. And then the time, notice, is in military format. So this is, if you subtract 12 from this, you'll see it's 6:46. It also gives the time zone that you're in. Okay. So what does this look like? Let's kind of play with some of the components of this in console log. If you look somewhere in your book, and I should have already established what page this was on, but somewhere in your book it gives you some methods, but they're also on this W3C schools that I'm going to open in a minute. But I want us to see some things. I want us to explore before we dig too deeply into that. So remember, if we do console log, and we tell it to console log something, it will not appear in our main screen, but it will appear down in our console. Okay, so as long as we have console open, we'll be able to see what the value is of right now. So let's play with some of the methods of this object. So for right now, I can get the full year. Well, you guys know what the full year is, right? It's 2020, correct. We can also get the month. It's April, right? Yep, it's April. Wonder what's gonna happen when we do that. Is it gonna say April? It said 3. Huh. Why did it say 3? January, February, March, April. April's the 4th month. That's right, boys and girls. JavaScript starts counting months at 0. So January is represented by 0, February by 1, March by 2, and then April by 3. Wonder if it does day the same way. Well, if we want to get the date, like the actual, today's the 17th, we do get date. Okay? So will it show up 16? Because that would be really confusing, right? No, It starts counting the days of the month at 1, but it counts the months of the year starting at 0. Let's look at what happens when we get hour. So if we do get hour, what? Oh, I think it's get hours. There we go. Whoopsie-doody. Okay, so that says 18. It doesn't say 6 because it wouldn't know if it was AM or PM. It says 18 because it uses military time. So if you subtract 12 from that, it's 6:49. Okay? What if we wanted to know, like, is it Friday? Is it Saturday? Is it Sunday? So to do that, we would do get day. Okay, so not to be confused with get date, D-A-T-E, which gives us the actual date, like today is the 17th. Get day gives us the day of the week, Friday, Saturday. Okay, so look what happens when we run this. 5, what does that mean? Well, Sunday is 0, Monday is 1, so on and so forth. So it does start counting the days of the week starting at 0. Don't worry if this is confusing, because you can do a quick Google search and you can find out which ones start at 0 and which ones start at 1. Okay? Now also notice something here with get time, and you'll explore this more when you get into the book chapter. But there's it's kind of silly, but it's time in milliseconds. Interesting, huh? Okay. So let's kind of explore some more and do a little more work with this. I'm going to remove this console log. And the next thing that I want to display is the last time we had class at the tech. So let's create a new variable and let's call it past date. And we need to create a new instance of our class so that we can work with it. So let's do new date. And then we can set the date to whatever we want to. But it's not in the format that we normally think of. It is not month, day, and year. It starts with year. So the last year that we were at the tech, which seems like forever ago, was 2020. And then the last month we were at the tech was March. Now, if I was just writing the date like on a check or on my homework or something like that, I would put 3. But remember, months start counting at 0, so I have to put 2. And then we'll separate that with a comma, and then the day, my computer went to sleep, it was the 6th. That was so long ago. So we can do the 6th. Okay? So let's write that to this area up here. This is the last time we had class at the tech. And we want to write to the inside of this H3 that says past date. So we'll do a document dot get element by ID, past date. We want to change the text content to the value of our past date variable right here. Okay? All right, so when we refresh our page over here, it says the last time we were there was Friday, March 6th at 2020. But it's at 00 hours. So the hours kind of work the same. So we could say, if we wanted to say 3 o'clock, that would be like 1500 hours. Maybe it was 3:30. Maybe it was 3:30 and 15 seconds. So you can kind of see how the parameters work there. Okay? All right, so that gives us the date there. Now, we said in the console log, so say we want to find out how many days it is until our final exam. So remember, we are so fortunate that our final exam gets to be on May the 4th, Intergalactic Star Wars Day. And I'm certainly sorry that I'm not going to be with you guys to celebrate this very, very special holiday. But let's see how many days it is until Intergalactic Star Wars Day. You may think, well, let's create a variable and call it day until exam. And we'll just set it empty right now. You may think that we could just take, well, hold on, let me do this. Let's say our day until exam is new date 2020. It is on the 5th month, which would be 4 in JavaScript, and it's on the 4th day, which is 4. Okay. So let's say we can console.log, and we can do date until exam.get date, and that would return the 4th. Oh, what did I mess up? Oh, see, I didn't put a space there. Did y'all catch that? Okay, we're going with it. I'm not re-recording this video. Okay, you see the 4th there? Okay, so you might think we could just like subtract the days from right now to our exam date, and that would work, but that's not really the case with JavaScript. What you'll see when you walk through this chapter text that we're going to do at chapter 7 is that we kind of have to work in milliseconds to make our math work out correctly. So in actuality, this is what we're going to do. Okay, so let's take off that. We're going to say that we have a variable right above it. We're going to call this variable 1 day. So how many milliseconds are in 1 day? Well, there's 24 hours, and there's 60 minutes in an hour, and then there are 60 seconds in an hour, and then there are 1,000 milliseconds in a second. Okay, so that basically tells you how many milliseconds there are in 1 day. Now in your book, they calculate it for you. You just have to put like a really long string of numbers, but they do the math for you. Okay, so now that we know how many milliseconds are in 1 day, we get to use math object, and we're going to round. We're going to use the absolute value. I wonder if any of you used absolute value for your project for the math object. We're going to say our variable right now minus our oh, I still got to do an exam date. See? I'm not re-recording this. I'm just not doing it. It's Friday night and I want to play Mario. We need a variable called exam date, which is what I had earlier, and then I made you erase it, but too bad. You're just going to have to type it over. And remember, it's 4. Okay, so now we can subtract right now from our exam date, and then we end up dividing that by 1 day. Okay, so be sure to check your parentheses there. And then we want to log it, well, not log it, we want to print it to the final results ID, changing the text content and setting it to date until exam. It's the showdown. Okay, and only 16 days left until our final exam. Exciting and new. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial about the date object, even though I flubbed up a couple of times, but that's okay. You know, this is the joy of online teaching. I do hope that you really carefully read when you're going through this chapter. I'm going to probably re-record another video and kind of help you out with some things in this chapter, so we won't struggle as much as we did in that last chapter. But this one is not as bad as the last chapter, I promise. And classes are really cool, and there's some fun things that you're doing with objects here, so you're really getting your toe in the water with programming in this chapter. And I wish we were all together to do it together, but we'll make it work online. Okay, if you have any questions, email me. Let's buck up and get everything finished, because we only have a few days left until the semester is over. Okay. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.